Oh, hey, I didn't see you come in. I love the fall season. The weather gets a little cooler, the leaves start to change, everything takes on this warm, sepia tone aesthetic. There are certain feelings you can only experience in the fall. The feeling of unpacking your favorite flannel and finally putting it on and feeling its warm embrace. A beanie squeezing onto your head to hide your bad hair day, which happens very often. The crunch of the leaves beneath your feet as you take your morning walk, not drinking a pumpkin spice latte. Yeah, fall is definitely my favorite season. There's something nostalgic about it. And what's more nostalgic than emo?
Who fucking cares? It's nothing.
And yes, I know it's still technically September as I'm filming this, but I like to live in my own reality where I control everything and nothing hurts. Hello and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, I'm Trevor and I am eternally uncool. I make videos about music, music culture, anything that interests me, but mostly music right now. So if that sounds like something you'd be into, I highly recommend subscribing to the channel and watching the rest of this video. Emo is one of my favorite musical genres. I was a sensitive kid, so I related heavily to the more introspective and heartfelt themes explored in emo. I remember discovering bands like Mineral and Jets to Brazil when I was still in middle school and feeling like I finally found something that spoke to me. But these bands weren't active when I was a teenager. What was I to do? Lucky for me, a revival was underway, with bands taking influence from the artists that got me into the genre. The emo revival was an underground movement in the late 2000s and 2010s. This style abandoned the more theatrical and pop-punk influenced sound of the emo explosion of 2003 to 2008 with bands like My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy in favor of a more 90s Midwest influence. These bands were their influences on their sleeves, taking cues from acts like American Football, The Promised Ring, Cap and Jazz, and The Anniversary. It relied less on an aesthetic and more on DIY sound and themes of nostalgia and adulthood. It was more mature than emo in the 2000s, which was more favored in the teen girl crowd. Not that there's anything wrong with teen girls, they are the tastemakers of everything. There were numerous bands in this scene that are still beloved even today. Tiger's Jaw, The Front Bottoms, Joyce Manor, Turnover, but I think there's one band that burns brighter than the rest of them. There's one band whose legacy is almost mythic. They were the perfect band for this specific movement in this specific time. A band that encapsulated the emo revival in all its glories
and flaws.
A band that defines a generation. That band is modern baseball.
You weren't the only one who thought of us that way. I spend most nights awake, wide awake.
Modern Baseball's life as a band may have been relatively short, but their impact is undeniable. With a sound that is both timely and timeless, they managed to gain fans well after their hiatus, with songs going viral on TikTok. Out of all the emo revival bands, Modern Baseball stands out as the most beloved. Their hiatus left a ripple in the scene, mirroring that of fellow emo juggernauts My Chemical Romance. Is Modern Baseball the most important emo revival band?
Does it matter? Should you care?
Today, I'm gonna answer those questions and more. Today, I'm going to take a deep dive into one of my favorite bands of all time. Take a look at their history, their success, what attracted their audience, what they're doing now, and their impact on pop punk and emo. So grab a drink, grab a snack, tell all your friends, and let's get into the video.
I wanna start from the top, maybe like a do-over. replace the voices in my head with blind innocence.
I think one of the things that attracted people to modern baseball was their incorporation of two vocalists, Jake Ewald and Bren Lukens. There aren't a lot of bands that share lead vocalists the same way that Mobo does. A band like Taking Back Sunday will feature dual vocalists, but Adam Lazzara will still always be credited as the lead singer. But with modern baseball, it doesn't seem like Jake or Bren are the front person. It seems like they both carry equal weight in that position. There's no one-upmanship or competition. Jake sings a song, Bren sings the next one. Jake and Bren went to the same high school but ran in different crowds. Bren played sports and Jake hung out with the preps. But neither of them seemed to really fit into these respective stereotypes. Jake was actually a part of a Paramore cover band with his twin sister called Purple Shanty Shack. Bren would become romantically interested in Jake's sister and the two would form a relationship. Jake and Bren would bond over music. And when the relationship with Jake's sister eventually ended, the friendship did not. In fact, I feel like it made them better, because then they would go on to create the band that would change both of their lives. And the lives of everyone else in the emo world. What's this song? In the emo world. Modern baseball got their name from a book found in Jake's basement. The book was like a textbook or a guidebook or something called Modern Baseball Techniques. I think Jake's dad was like a baseball coach or an athletic director of some sort, and maybe that's why he had the book. Don't quote me on it, I'm dumb. All I know is the title struck them enough to name their band after it. And thus, Modern Baseball was born.
Bada bing, it's a healthy baby boy.
Ewald and Lukens would attend college in Philadelphia, with Jake going to Drexel and Bren going to Chestnut Hill College. Philly is a big place for art and culture. It's a hub for bands. Fellow emo acts like an Albatross, Hop Along, and Everyone Everywhere are from Philly, as well as pop punk band The Loved Ones, legendary hip hop act The Roots, and the always iconic Hall & Oates. I know a lot of independent bands from the Delaware, Maryland, Jersey scene that constantly do shows in Philly, so it's a great place to start a band. They met Ian Farmer, a fellow music lover and punk who would become their bass player, as well as their drummer, Sean Huber, who was a little older than all of them. With their lineup in place, the band would play their first show in their shared house off the Drexel campus. Admission to this show was $3, or a picture of legendary basketball player Michael Jordan. I guess a lot of people must have brought a picture of Michael Jordan because this house would soon be dubbed the Michael Jordan House, which now that I think about it sounds like a charity.
Stop it. Get some help.
They released their debut album Sports in 2012. The album was written while the band was all still in college and recorded at Drexel's free studio. Sports is a really underrated emo album, in my opinion. There isn't really anything else that sounds like it, or like anything in Mobo's discography. Listening to Sports feels like listening to an important piece of musical history. This sounds like the beginning of the emo revival, the genesis, if you will. The songs on this album are all classics. The Weeknd, Tears Over Beers, Redo, Coles, Play Ball. You don't know how often Play Ball gets stuck in my head. These words were thrown together when I still had my faith in hand. Left them in my back pocket with the dreams I had for sale. And I'll let the stars be my sea breeze. I love when the record echoes.
Shut up!
It takes the earnestness of a band like the Wonder Years and mixes it with the quirky pop punk of a band like Say Anything. So the camera and audio quality is probably gonna sound a little bit different. I had to switch from my usual camera to my iPhone because of technical difficulties, because of course. But the show must go on, I guess. I think modern baseball really started popping off when they released their second album, You're Gonna Miss It All. This is the album that introduced me to the band. I remember seeing the video for Your Graduation and just being blown away by what I was hearing. And it was confusing because I assumed Sean was one of the singers because Jake really doesn't sing on this song, he just plays guitar, and Sean sings the only song he's ever sung in modern baseball's entire lifespan.
Call you crook, called you abandoned. There ain't no other good damn reason why.
Either way, I was hooked. I somehow acquired the album. Don't ask how. 19-year-old Trev didn't have a job. How did he get the money? And I listened to it constantly. Songs like Fine, Great, and Apartment are permanently burned into my mind. You're Gonna Miss It All was released on Run for Cover Records, one of the most influential record labels of the emo revival. They've released some of the most important albums. Basement's I Wish I Could Stay Here, Turnover's Peripheral Vision, Citizens Youth. This was one of the top tier pop punk and emo labels. This label helped propel modern baseball to underground stardom. I'm a star! In 2016, modern baseball would release their third and final album, Holy Ghost. I talked a lot about this album in a previous video, so I don't want to repeat myself. So if you want to hear about this album more, I'll link that video somewhere. This was modern baseball's most personal album, dealing with themes of loss, grief, and depression. Jake and Bren were both going through tough times, and they put all of that into an album that would define a band at its peak. It gained the young band critical acclaim with an 81 out of 100 Metacritic score, and making its way onto several Best of 2016 lists. In my opinion, it's modern baseball's greatest album. In 2017, Bren Lukens announced that they would not be touring with the band on their Europe, UK tour to focus on their mental health. In solidarity with their friend, Modern Baseball would cancel the rest of their shows to protect Bren's mental health and well-being. And eventually Jake would announce in an interview that Modern Baseball was on indefinite hiatus. And it's been that way ever since.
You weren't the only one who thought of us that way. I spend most nights awake, wide awake. I never thought that I would see the day where I just let you go, let you walk away.
In 2016, while the band was on tour with Brand New and the Front Bottoms, Jake Ewald would be working on a side project. Slaughter Beach Dog released its debut album on Lamo Records to pretty good reviews. In 2017, after the band canceled their shows, Ewald and Farmer would go on to produce the next Slaughter Beach Dog record. And eventually, Farmer would join the band full-time.
Stare out my window at the neighbors at night. Serpentine explanations for why I stayed at his side.
I mentioned that Sean Huber, the drummer, sang on Your Graduation, and that he didn't really sing on any other modern baseball song to my knowledge. But just like Phil Collins and Dave Grohl before him, he would step in front of the kit to front his own band. Well, he was technically doing it before modern baseball. Before joining Mobo, Huber had a band called Steady Hand, but they didn't release their first album until 2018. Steady Hand's pretty cool. It has more of a raw punk sound than what modern baseball does. Think Gaslight Anthem and Hot Water Music. Bren Lukens has kept pretty quiet since Modern Baseball went on hiatus. They announced sometime after the split that they go by they/them pronouns. And they also went on a solo tour.
You got a certain who knows what about you, and I got a small amount of time to figure out what it is exactly and to whom does it apply. But I know for a fact
I wanted to know what else Bren was up to, so I checked Reddit, and they said that Bren is studying cinematography now. And sure enough, if you Google Bren Lukens, you'll find a LinkedIn profile that says they are indeed a student at Temple University studying cinematography. Now, is this the same Bren Lukens as in Modern Baseball? I would think so. I don't think that's a very common name. Maybe being behind the scenes and not having, all eyes on you watching your every move will be better for Bren. As of now, it doesn't look like there's a Modern Baseball reunion on the horizon. Jake and Ian seem to be doing pretty well with Slaughter Beach Dog, with their latest album being released just days before I filmed this video. And with Bren in school studying cinematography, it seems like Modern Baseball has been put on the back burner. Modern Baseball, like most great emo bands before them, had a short lifespan, but a huge impact. They're one of the progenitors of the emo revival sound. Without them or bands like the Front Bottoms, I think emo today would sound a lot different than what it does. They really helped to define a sound and style, taking cues from Midwest emo and folk punk to create something unique and different. They really paved the way for bands like Hot Mulligan with their unabashed sensitivity and their dignified pop punk that was never pretentious. They've been covered by modern emo and pop punk greats Stand Atlantic. And their influence can be seen on more underground acts that are gaining traction on TikTok like Adjust the Sails.
but my body's covered in tattoos, but I wish it was covered entirely by you, but you go.
They're pop punk that's relatable no matter what age you are. Modern Baseball's music still resonates whether you're 19 or 30. They're a band that I don't see myself growing out of, but rather growing with. As I find myself coming back to their music time and time again, I find myself feeling new emotions with each song as I get older. Their discography may only consist of 3 albums, but those 3 albums are perfect. If there's any band that defines the emo revival, it's Modern Baseball. That's gonna do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. What do you think of Modern Baseball? Do you agree with me that they're the best emo revival band? Or do you think that title should go to someone else? Let me know in the comments. If you did enjoy this video, then I highly recommend giving the like button a high five and sharing this video with everyone you know. Cause why give them a trick when you can give them a treat? I'm a small independent creator, so every like, comment, share, any interaction with this video at all really helps me out in the algorithm. If you've watched this far into the video, I thank you immensely. As always, I'm Trevor. Stay uncool. What? And how is that my problem?
Roommates, am I right?
That's the end of the video. Goodbye.